On 28 June 1914, Archduke Franz Ferdinand, heir to the Austro-Hungarian throne, was shot dead in Sarajevo. The man who killed him had already failed once that morning. He was sitting in a cafe, convinced the mission was over, when the Archduke's car made a wrong turn and stopped directly in front of him. He fired twice. Within weeks, the great powers of Europe were at war. Franz Ferdinand was not a beloved figure within the Habsburg court. He was considered difficult, stubborn, and politically unpredictable. But he held significant power as the heir apparent, and his death would carry enormous consequences. He had traveled to Sarajevo to observe military maneuvers in Bosnia, a province Austria-Hungary had annexed just 6 years earlier. The visit was a provocation to Serbian nationalists who believed Bosnia should be part of a greater South Slav state. The Black Hand was a secret Serbian nationalist society with connections to Serbian military intelligence. Its members believed violence was the only path to South Slav liberation. One of its operatives, Dragutin Dimitrijevic, organized an assassination plot and recruited a group of young Bosnian Serbs. Among them was a 19-year-old named Gavrilo Princip, slight, tubercular, and absolutely determined. The conspirators positioned themselves along the Apel Quay. The route the Archduke's motorcade would take through Sarajevo's center. The first attempt, made by one of the conspirators throwing a grenade, failed. The bomb bounced off the car and exploded under the following vehicle, wounding several people. Franz Ferdinand arrived at the town hall shaken but alive. The conspirators scattered. The mission appeared to have collapsed. After a tense ceremony at the town hall, the Archduke decided to visit the injured at the hospital. His driver was given new instructions but was not told the route had changed. He turned down Franz Joseph Street by mistake. An aide called out that he had taken the wrong turn. The driver stopped the car to reverse, directly in front of Schiller's Delicatessen, where Gavrilo Princip was standing. Princip stepped forward and fired. The first bullet struck Franz Ferdinand in the jugular vein. The second struck his wife, Sophie, in the abdomen. Both were dead within the hour. Princip was seized immediately by the crowd. He was 19 years old. Under Austro-Hungarian law, he was too young to be executed. He was sentenced to 20 years in prison and died of tuberculosis in 1918. Austria-Hungary blamed Serbia for the assassination and issued an ultimatum deliberately designed to be rejected. Serbia accepted most of its terms, but refused two that would have granted Austria-Hungary direct authority on Serbian soil. Austria-Hungary declared war on 28 July. Russia began mobilizing in support of Serbia. Germany declared war on Russia, then on France. When German troops entered Belgium, Britain declared war on Germany. Within 6 weeks of 2 shots in Sarajevo, 8 nations were at war. The speed of the escalation reflected how thoroughly the European powers had already committed themselves to conflict through their alliance systems, their military timetables, and their strategic calculations. The assassination was not the cause of the First World War, it was the trigger. The powder had been accumulating for decades. Sarajevo lit the match. 10 million soldiers died in the 4 years that followed. 4 empires collapsed: the Ottoman, the Austro-Hungarian, the Russian, and the German. The map of Europe was redrawn. The political settlement that followed planted the seeds of a second, even more destructive conflict. The 20th century's trajectory was set in motion by a wrong turn on a Sunday morning in Bosnia. Gavrilo Princip died in prison without knowing what he had started. He believed he was striking a blow for South Slav liberation. In a narrow sense, he was right. The post-war settlement did create Yugoslavia, but the cost was measured in tens of millions of lives across 2 world wars. The assassination of Franz Ferdinand endures as a warning about what happens when political crises are allowed to escalate unchecked. The decision-makers of 1914 had days and weeks to pull back from the brink. Most of them chose not to. The consequences of those choices shaped the world we still inhabit.